सहनावतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणम्। सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। श्रीचिन्मययतीशस्य गुरुं वन्दे तपोवनं। तं हिमवद्विभूतिं वै ज्ञानवैराग्यरूपिणं समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। ॐ श्री गणेशाय नमः। ॐ श्री सरस्वत्यै नमः। ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः। भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः। स्थिरैरङ्गैः स्तुष्ट्वागंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः। स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः। स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः। स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः। स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om, we will be completing the fourth query today. And just to summarize the questions asked by the student, he said, "O Bhagwan, O Guru, Lord, who is in this body that sleeps, and what is it that stays awake? And who is the one watching the dream? Who enjoys the bliss of deep sleep? And where do all of these stay established? Where are they stationed?" So the teacher answers that the sense organs and the organs of action go into the mind like the rays go into the sun at sunset, and this individual sleeps. And then who stays awake? It is the pranas, all the five pranas. The teacher explained to us, prana, apana, all the five pranas stay awake. And then who watches the dream? He says the mind itself watches the dream. And the mind actually is the dream. The mind is the dream, but the mind watches the dream as if something is happening separate from the mind. And then in the fourth one, who enjoys the bliss? So it is said that all the sense organs, organs of action, mind, intellect, everything goes into sleep. Only the chit, the memory, stays awake and remembers that I did not know anything. So the absence of all thoughts, all perceptions is experienced by the chitta. And then in the morning, the person remembers, oh, I did not know anything. I had a deep sleep. And then the fifth question is, where do these all get established? And it is said, just as birds, they fly all over and then come back to the branch of the tree, to the nest, to rest. So also all these sense organs, organs of action, either some people say in sleep or some people say at the origin, everything comes out from consciousness and merges back into consciousness. And in the eighth mantra, we had talked about that all the five elements, the subtle elements, the five sense organs, the sense objects, the organs of action, and their hands, feet, and what they grasp, where they move, what they speak, all those are established in the consciousness, in the Atma. And then the last two, I think Lata had a question. So it is said, Cheta in the shloka number 8, Cheta itavyam cha tejas cha. It is page 171, shloka number 8, mantra number 8 of query 4. So Chetai tavyam cha tejas cha vidyoti tavyam cha pranas cha vidharayit tavyam cha. So here Teja means brilliance. And when a person has done a lot of tapas, lot of upasana, has done a lot of karma yoga, and his mind is pure, and then he gets the glow of brilliance, which we see in these Mahatmas when we are in the presence, and we feel a great peace because they have this aura, this glow of accomplishment, spiritual accomplishment, not worldly, not somebody who is a millionaire, but somebody who has evolved spiritually had this tejas, and that tejas also is stationed in the Atma. And then the last one is pranam. Pranam here does not mean the five pranas, does not mean, it means here, actually everywhere in this Upanishad, prana has a different meaning. Here prana means sutratma. Sutratma means the string that holds the body together, holds the whole universe together. That's why Bhagavan Shri Krishna in the Gita says, Matav parataram nanyat kinchid asti dhananjaya mai sarvam idam protam sutre mani gana iva. So just as pearls are held in the string, same way Bhagavan says, I hold this whole universe like a string. In me, this whole universe is held. So here in this particular mantra, the prana refers to Hiranya Garbha, or the Prajapati, the creator, who in this case holds the body together, the mind, the intellect, the sense organs, organs of action, not only of one individual, but all individuals, all birds, plants, fish, everybody. So that is the Sutratma. So now we'll do mantra number 9. Hansaben, would you like to repeat? You can unmute, please. Esha hi drashta.
Esha hi drashta.
Sprashta shrota.
Sprashta shrota.
Grata rasaita.
Grata rasaita.
Manta bodha.
Manta bodha.
Karta vijnanatma.
Karta vijnanatma.
Purushaha.
Purushaha.
Saparekshara.
Saparekshara.
Atmani sampratisthate.
Atmani sampratisthate.
You can please mute. We'll all chant together. Esha hi drashta, sprashta, shrota, grata, rasaita, manta, bodha, karta, vijnanatma, purushaha, saparekshar atmani sampratisthate. So here the teacher is talking about the ego, the individuality. And where does this ego stay? So he'll talk about that. And in the next two mantras, he will talk about the Atman, where all of these abide. So the first one is talking about ego. So he is comparing ego with Atma, and then we'll see ultimately he will show the oneness. So Esha, so this drishta, this ego becomes Esha, he indeed becomes the drishta, the seer. Sprashta means one who feels, touches. Shrota, one who listens. Grata, one who smells. Rasahita, one who tastes. Manta means one who thinks with the mind. Bodha means one who knows. And karta means one who does. So all the sense organs or the organs of action and the subtle body, the four antakarna are already included. They are all part of that ego. And here he uses a term Vijnanatma, Purushaha. This Purushaha, this individual being, does not mean man, means this individual being is called as Vijnanatma. What is the meaning of Vijnanatma? It is reflection of consciousness. So the reflection of consciousness is the Vijnanatma. So the Atma, the consciousness, reflects in the subtle body and becomes the Vijnanatma, and then it takes upon the role of doer and enjoyer, and we'll talk about that. And then Saha Pare, so this same ego, Atma, this individual, Pare, in the highest, supreme, Akshara Atmani, the imperishable, supreme Atma, Sampratishthate, dwells, is established in that supreme Atma. So as we said, if I think I am this ego, this individual body, mind, intellect, and then I say I am the doer, so I did this, I did that, I accomplished this, I accomplished that. If you become the doer, then you also become the bhokta. Karta also becomes the bhokta. You cannot say, I did it, but somebody else will get the results. I'll get the results, whether it's joy, whether it's sorrow, whether it's success, whether it's failure, whether it's good or bad. So as long as I have the doership, I will suffer the consequences. And that is what you and I in our life, we think I am this BMI and therefore I am suffering. Why is it happening to me? Why Bhagwan only sends these packets of sorrow, especially for me, FedEx, they come every day, a new sorrow comes, and why only me? So that's why in the 5th chapter, Bhagwan says, Na kinchit karomi iti manyante tattvavet. Pashyan, sprishan, jigran, unmishan, nimishan api. Indriyani indriyartheshu vartanta iti dharayan. So he says, tattvavet, the wise person, says, I do nothing, because he or she is firmly established in this Atma, and whatever is happening, hearing, seeing, smelling, tasting, touching, Indriyani indriyartheshu. The sense organs are acting with the sense objects. I have nothing to do with it. I am that self. So that is and then this person doesn't suffer the consequences. Because he says, I didn't do anything. I am the Atma. Let the body, mind, intellect, they did it, they will suffer the consequences. So he rises above that, and he realizes that this world that he's experiencing is only a superimposition. And Gurudev in his BMI chart, actually we think, arey BMI chart to aata hai. But BMI chart has the entire essence of Vedanta in it. How the Om, the consciousness, which is covered by vasanas, and thinks itself to be the PFT, perceiver, feeler, and thinker, and using the equipment of body, mind, and intellect, enjoys or suffers objects, emotions, thoughts. And the goal of spirituality is to realize Om, go beyond vasanas. So the entire Upanishad in that very simple chart, without using any Vedantic terminology, Puja Gurudev is a masterful creation, and that's how we should study this BMI chart. So as we said, this Vijnanatma, this what you call reflection of consciousness is dependent upon Atma, is not independent. Like the sun, when it reflects in the bucket of water, the sun is independent, but the bucket of water is dependent on the sun. If the sun is not available, is covered by cloud or sun sets, then the bucket cannot function. So you and I are like that. Bucket is the body and the water is the subtle body, the mind and intellect. And we depend on the light of consciousness to illumine us. But scientists still think that we are a combination of elements. They say somehow 5 elements came together, and in all the laboratories of the world, they are trying their best to create life. They are putting elements together, creating DNA, and then seeing if it will multiply. But it is never going to happen because they do not accept the light of consciousness, God, Brahman. And when they deny God, that's what happens. This person with ego says, I did it. Where is God? Who is God? And this knowledge of this akshara, this right knowledge, without right knowledge, one cannot succeed in this world or in the spiritual path and also in the worldly path. Talking about right knowledge, there was this car accident and these 2 cars collided, and one car had a physicist and a great philosopher. Other one had the town idiot, the village idiot, and they all 3 died. All together entered heaven, went to heaven at the same time. And Saint Peter says, look, heaven is full right now. We have to restrict who can enter heaven. So you have to ask me a question that I cannot answer. If I cannot answer, you can go to heaven. So physicist says, okay, tell me about the Higgs boson. That's the most complex physical theory which has not even been fully proved. Tell me about it. So Peter snaps his fingers, and on the blackboard, there's multiple boards. The entire theory is there, including what is not known. And the physicist looks, he says, yeah, you are right. He clicks his finger, physicist goes to hell. Then the philosopher said, let me ask him something philosophy. He said, tell me about the works of Socrates. Now, Socrates had never written down, he had only spoken. So I want all the works of Socrates. So St. Peter clicks his finger and comes these hundreds of pages and he gives it to him. And all the works of Socrates, some of which the philosopher didn't know. He said, Socrates is here in heaven and we talk every day. And these are the things that even followers of his, nobody remembers because they were never written down. So philosopher also goes to hell. And then this, idiot, what chance does he have, right? So he asks St. Peter, okay, I'll ask you a riddle. So he said, go ahead, ask. He says, what is it that goes up with 6 legs, comes down with 4 legs, goes up again with 2 legs, and comes down with no more? He says, what? He says, what goes up with 6 legs, comes down with 4, goes up with 2 legs, comes down with no more? So St. Peter thinks. He says, I'm sorry, I don't know the answer. So he clicks and the door to heaven opens. So this idiot is walking in, and then St. Peter taps him on the shoulder. He says, what's the answer to your riddle? He says, how the heck should I know? And he walks in the door of heaven. So, so, so it is important to have the right knowledge at all times. So that's why he says this Vijnanatma Purusha knows this Akshara. But he knows this Akshara as himself, that this ego is not separate from Atma. That's what the Upanishad tells. That's what the Mahavakya says. Tat Tvam Asi. You are that consciousness. And this Prasnopanishad is a commentary on Mundaka Upanishad. So that's why this Akshara Pare Atmani is used in Mundaka Upanishad. So that is quoted by the Rishi. And he says not only the ego, the individual, but the entire universe is supported in Atmani. And that Atmani, I should not think of as something else, as Brahman, as me. In me, this entire universe is supported. So that we'll talk about that in the next mantra in more detail. But basically, the ego is the enjoyer, the doer, and the experiencer, and suffers out of ignorance. So the right knowledge, that's why Gurudev in his commentary says the students must have had a question in their eyes. So what is this Atma? What is this supreme consciousness? Can you please tell us about it? This has been covered in various texts, but each place they give a little different twist to this same description. So maybe Sharad, you have the book, the 10th mantra, page 177. Paramevaksharam pratipadyate
परमेवाक्षरं प्रतिपद्यते
sayoha vai
स यो ह वै
तच्छायं शरीरं लोहितं
तत्तच्छायम् आशरीरम् अलोहितं
शुभ्रमक्षरं
शुभ्रमक्षरम्
वेदयते
वेदयते
यस्तु सौम्य
यस्तु सौम्य
स सर्वज्ञ
स सर्वज्ञ
सर्वो भवति
सर्वो भवति
तदेष श्लोकः.
तदेष श्लोकः.
Okay, so together, paramevaksharam pratipadyate sayoha vai tadchayam shariram lohitam shubhram aksharam vedayate yastu somya sat sarvagnya sarvo bhavati tadesha shlokaha. So he says, this, O Somya, he starts with, oh, he addresses him as, in the third line, O Somya, oh delightful one, oh beautiful one. Very lovingly he addresses the student as, oh my beloved child, who is so beautiful, so nice to look at. It comes from Soma, the moon, how the moon is pleasing. You are that much pleasing to me, oh students. So yaha aksharam vedayate, one who knows this aksharam, this imperishable, that is in the third line, vedayate yaha tu, yaha, in this way, somya, one who knows how param eva aksharam, it is the supreme imperishable, and that he pratipadyate, that he attains. So one who knows this Akshara Brahma in the way I am going to tell you, he not only knows, but he attains it. See, one is to know, like I may know about, a pen, or I may know about a tree, or about a, but do I become the pen or do I become the tree? No. I know the pen, I hold the pen, I can touch the tree. But here, one who knows Brahman becomes Brahman. That's what he says, knowing Brahman, he becomes Brahman in this way. How do we know it? So he attains it and he becomes it. How? Sayo havai. So this Brahman indeed is what? Tat achayam, means it is without shadow. Ashariram, without body. Alohitam, without color. Lohitam means blood, red also means color. So it is without chaya, without body, without color. Shubhram, it is pure. Aksharam, imperishable. So one who knows it in this way, what happens to him? Sa sarvagnya sarvo bhavati. He becomes all-knowing. In fact, he becomes everything himself. Tad esha shlokaha. So the next shloka, the Rishi is quoting from Rig Veda, which has similar ideas. So the first description of this Brahman is achayam. It is without shadow. And student will say, Bhagwan, wait. In the third query, you said it is shadow. Remember the prana is reflection. Now you're saying without shadow. So please make up your mind. So the teacher's answer depends on the student's level of question. Because student thought that the prana is real, is created. And so for the student who thinks there is a creation, he will say creation is like shadow. But this student's level of, because they have stayed with him for 1 year, he knows that this student is advanced. And so he tells there is no chaya. There is no reflection because there is no world. Because to have chaya, like there is a tree, and to have a reflection, shadow, you need a ground, right? You need something where the chaya should fall. Say if this earth has a reflection, where does it fall? In space. But the Rishi says there is no space, there is no earth, there is not even sun. So nothing is there, so therefore it cannot have a chaya. Gurudev in his commentary says that there is no reflection. A chaya means without reflection. Again, it is like the sun, when the bucket is not there and the water is not there, then the light as though goes back to the sun. So similarly, Atman is alone there and there is no world, there is no space, there is no air. It's not that I don't perceive it. You say, I perceive the world. How can you say there is no world? We say world is a perception, but not a reality. Now that is very important to understand, that I perceive the world, but it is unreal. Like in the dream, I perceive the dream, right? And it looks very real. But when I wake up, I say it was only a perception, was not reality. So we cannot say world is not perceived. I perceive it. I touch the objects, I smell, I taste. But these are only perception, not reality. So that one should always pay attention to and keep our attention always on this consciousness. So going inward and paying attention to that which is illumining my mind, which is illumining my intellect. Then people say you should become a sakshi or a witness. Sakshi also, then there are two, right? There is the witnesser and the witnessed. But what Vedanta says, advaitam, there are no two. There is one alone. So even sakshi is a compromise. Even reflection is a compromise. These are all compromised words. But in reality, there is nothing to witness. When there is nothing to witness, then what happens to the sakshi? Yes, sakshi alone exists. So that is the essence of this achayam, that there is no reflection. And this is the, but then the next word is ashariram. It means it has no body. And body means we know three bodies: gross body, subtle body, causal body. So none of the three bodies, there are no gross body, there are no subtle bodies, with the 19 elements. The subtle body has 19, we have covered before, 5 sense organs, 5 organs of action, 5 pranas, and 4 antakaranas. So none of them are there in that consciousness. There is no causal body. There are no vasanas because consciousness is pure. It's uncontaminated without any vasanas. That's why it is said Shubhram. So when there is no form, there is no color, there are no gunas, then what do we think? We think it is a ghost. In Hindi movies, they have this girl wearing white, and she's walking in the background, floating and singing Kahin Deep Jale, Kahin Dil. You remember that? 20 saal baad. So we think that is the ghost, and this Atma is something like a ghost, white, colorless, floating. No, that ghost is out of ignorance. So when we say it is dark, that means that there is ignorance. So in Atma, there is no darkness, there is no ignorance. There are no colors. What do you mean by colors? So in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan says there are 3 colors: Sattva is white, Rajas is red, and Tamas is black. So none of the three colors, not even Sattva, none of the three colors can touch this Atma, and it has no form. Because the moment it has form, Gurudev says in his commentary, the moment it has form, it gets limited. Like my form, then I am limited. I'm only in this part, sitting on this chair in this room, and I'm not in the next room. And, and that there is a border. Even the earth has a form, but that has a border. Beyond that, the earth does not extend and is empty space. So when they say this Atma has no form, means it is limitless. Nothing limits it. It does not stop. Even space does not limit it. In fact, space is in that consciousness. So these are all pointers, because the Rishi uses all these words, because no language, even Sanskrit, is not pure enough to describe it. These are all pointers. And using these pointers, we should look in this direction, and then I will perceive this consciousness as I. That's what Gurudev says. The moment this experience of consciousness, even a trace happens, the whole world disappears. Disappears means becomes unreal. Then this person comes to know what is real, and on that real, this unreal world is. So the idea is that I am Jagat Adhar. I am the support of this world. But what do you and I think? I am this limited individual and the world supports me, right? Oh, I need food to eat, and I need air to breathe, and I need light. So I am this limited jiva and the world supports me. But the understanding is I am this Atman, and I support this entire universe. I, again, not this indicate, not this, what do you call this I, but the indicated I, Lakshyartha. What is not Vachyartha. Vachyartha is me as Anil, but Lakshyartha is I am as that consciousness. Just as in dream, again, dream example, I am in the dream and I think I am on the railway station and I'm running after the train. So I am there, the train is there, the railway station is there, the people are there. But when I wake up, I realize I alone was supporting this entire dream. But in that dream, I thought of myself as this limited I running after the train, and because I was going to miss the train. So similarly, this I is not this limited I, but I am the one that supports all. And that's what we should do in meditation. A lot of people think in meditation, I should make my mind blank. I should have no thoughts, make my mind blank. Even if you are able to make your mind temporarily blank without thoughts, who knows the blank? See, who knows that my mind is blank, has no thoughts? That I am. The one that knows the blankness, one who knows that the mind is blank, that knower I am, and I am knower. And he says all notions should be dropped, that I am this BMI, but I am all-knowing. All-knowing, how? By knowing myself, I become all-knowing. And Gurudev in his commentary beautifully says, he says, all-knowing means he knows all the thoughts of everybody. He says, then that person's life would be hell. Even just my own thoughts torture me so much. Imagine if I knew the thoughts of everybody. Oh, what a torture it would be, all the sufferings. So when they say all-knowing means he knows that I am that consciousness, and only through consciousness, in the presence of consciousness, thoughts can be known. So knowing that I am consciousness, and in my presence, all the intellects are thinking, the minds are feeling, the egos are functioning, that is the understanding. And I'm always existent, I never become non-existent. The example they give is of clay. Suppose I know clay, what the clay actually is. I play with it, I work with it. Once I know clay, I know all the pots in the world, all the pitchers, the cups, the saucers. I don't have to go to each country to see Chinese crockery and Belgian crockery and Swiss. All these different countries have special crockery. No, once I know clay, I know all the crockeries. So similarly, once I know Atma, then I know everything. But our understanding of knowledge is knowledge of something. So I know English, but I don't know Russian. But the consciousness knows that I know Russian and also knows the absence. Sorry, consciousness knows I know English and also knows I do not know Russian. So that awareness, which is aware of the knowledge and the ignorance, that I am, and that is the goal of this life. That is what I have to reach. And such a person becomes all-knowing. That's why he says Sarvagnya and Sarvo Bhavati. Once he knows I am consciousness, then there is no other. See, the oneness is only experienced when I know I am that consciousness. And that's Advaita. That's a very important principle in Advaita, in Vedanta, that there is no other. One alone is appearing as many, and that one alone is the substratum. All the names and forms are perceptions, but not real. They are just perceptions upon that. That's why the snake and rope or the ghost and post, all the examples they give, that on the rope, there is a perception of a snake. The snake is not that we don't perceive the snake, in darkness, but when the light is shown. So that is called that Sarvagnya, that is the one. O Saumya, that is the one that is to be known. That is the goal of your life. And that is where everything is established. So all the gross body, the subtle body, the causal bodies, all the pranas, everything are established in that consciousness. So the 11th mantra is from Rig Veda. So it has to be chanted. So Lata, do you want to chant?
I'll follow you.
Vijnanatma sahadevaischa sarvaihi
Vignanatma saha devaischa sarvaihi
prana bhutani sampratishtanti yatra
prana bhutani sampratishthanti yatra
tadaksharam vedayate yastu somya
tadaksharam vedayate yastu somya
Sarvagnya sarvameva vivesheti.
Sasarvagnya sarvameva vivesheti.
You can please mute, we'll chant together. Vijnanatma sahadevaischa sarvaihi prana bhutani sampratishtanti yatra tadaksharam vedayate yastu somya sasarvagnya sarvameva vivesheti. So the same idea is repeated in this mantra, which we have covered in the 10th one. So Vijnanatma. So Vijnanatma is the reflection of consciousness, who, when he comes to know, Vijnanatma means the reflection of consciousness, along with Devaischa Sarvaihi, all the Devas. Devas here means the sense organs, the organs of action. So along with the sense organs, the organs of action, this individual ego knows, this jiva knows not only the sense organs or organs of action, but also the pranas. Pranas here means the instruments, equipments. And bhutani, bhutani here means all the objects, not only beings, but all objects that are known to us, whether living, non-living, birds, plants, animals, fish, mountains, rivers, everything is known. And sampratishtanti yatra, and where do all these stay, which is we had also studied in the 8th mantra and in the 9th mantra, that aksharam Brahma, imperishable Brahman, vedayate. Vedayate means one who knows. Again, as we have said, knows is not only intellectual knowledge, but becomes that. Knows that and I are one. Aham Brahmasmi, tattvamasi. So yastu, yahatu, one who knows, O Soumya, sa sarvagnya, he becomes all-knowing. Sarvam evas, everything alone, vivesheti, enters into everything, means knows everything and becomes everything. So as we said, the Vijnanatma is the subject, is the knower, and the sense organs and the organs of action are the instruments, and the objects that are known through my eyes, through my ears, nose are called bhutani, the objects. So the knower, knowing, known, the knower, instruments and objects, all are established sampratishtanti yatra, in that consciousness. And one who knows this Akshara Brahma, knows it is I, becomes I, and enters means he experiences the oneness. So here this idea again is being repeated, that do not think of Brahman as something outside, think of it as I, think of it as the innermost. It is the one that is innermost, that is subtler than the body, the mind, the intellect, the pranas, the vasanas, and that is me. And then with that attitude, then you function in the world. The world will continue to function, the body will continue to see, the mind will think, the intellect will know, the vasanas will do, but one who's always abides in that truth, that such a person is said to be a realized master. And we have seen, people like these in our life, Puja Gurudev and other Mahatmas, and Shankaracharya ji and so many other great scholars and saints who have experienced this themselves and live and abide in this knowledge. And no matter what the world does to them, they are unaffected, untouched. Why? Because they are able to distance themselves from this body, and then they realize that this body has its own prarabdha, like an arrow which has been shot, and when the prarabdha ends, the body will end, but I am not the body. And whatever life they have left, they live a life of service, of blessing. Even their sleep is blessing, as we had talked last time, even when they are not doing anything, even when they may be in deep meditation, but the presence of these Mahatmas, it said that's why the rain falls. The rain falls, does not fall for you and me, but falls for these great masters, these great Mahatmas, and they are the ones that are sustaining this earth. Even though we say there is Kali Yuga, there is so much tragedy, there is so much violence, there is so much corruption, but there are people amongst us who walk and talk like us, and we may not recognize them, but they are the ones who their life becomes teaching, their life becomes, and they may not move anywhere. Like Tapovan Maharaj didn't go anywhere. He just stayed in Uttarkashi. He said, I am not going anywhere. Whoever wants to come to learn, come and learn from me. And he used to have maximum 3-4 students because he was so strict. But Puja Gurudev went and stayed so many years and attained enlightenment, got the knowledge, and now millions of people are benefiting. So such Mahatmas, Raman Maharishi never left, his ashram where he stayed, he never left. But people, even today, we are studying also on our Thursday class, Updesh Sar. So many people are benefiting from the presence of these Mahatmas. So that should be our goal in life, and that should be our understanding. I hope I was able to clarify the difference between ego and Atma, and then ultimately they are one. Tattvamasi. Ego and Atma are not two, is one alone. Atma alone expressing as ego, Atma alone expressing as all names and forms, whether animate or inanimate, sentient or insentient. So I'll end here. We have about 13, 14 minutes. These shlokas did not need too much commentary. There was a little bit of repetition, so we are done. But if anybody would like to add, ask any questions.
Anilji, could you explain this ego and Atma at the same one more time? Because
Yeah, sure.
I did not get the whole thing.
Gee, that's a good question. So ego is a temporary projection upon the Atma. Just as a snake is a temporary projection upon the rope. So similarly, for you and I to think that I am Mohini or I am Anil or I am Satish is a wrong understanding. That is the ego. But actually my true nature is Atma, but out of ignorance, out of darkness, I think myself to be this limited individual being who is born and then one day I will die. And that's what Arjuna asks Bhagavan Sri Krishna in the first chapter, that all these people will perish. And Bhagavan says, no, all of these people, they were never born and they will never die. Jayate mriyate va kaja. There was no time when you and I and these beings were not there, and there is no time when we will not be there. So right itself in the beginning of the second chapter, Bhagavan gives him the highest knowledge that these people whom you are thinking are these kings and warriors are none but this one Atma expressing as many. So actually the reality of this ego is that ego alone is, Atma alone is expressing as all these egos. So there is no separation. That's why the Mahavakya Tattvamasi, that's what is indicated in these today's mantras and today's these teachings, Brahmanas, that there is only one, and to think I am separate is ego. But in reality, ego is nothing but that consciousness. I don't know if I answered that. Is there anything additional, Neeru? Or
Ego cannot exist on its own. It
Yes.
is dependent.
Right,
Because underneath everything is this substratum,
right,
because of which everything. So it's like movie cannot exist without the screen. So same way this whole universe,
Right.
name and forms cannot exist without existence itself is
right. Yeah, so existence itself is supporting everything, and nothing can exist without the consciousness. As Neeru said, the movie has to have a screen. Without the screen, there will be no movie. Movie is unreal, but the screen is real in that example. Anybody else would like to add to that, answer that question before we move? Moini Auntie's question. Anybody? Jai Shri, Sharad, Satish Bhai, anybody wants to add anything? Okay, Lata, you have a question?
Can you explain the term omniscient? And would you say that, can you give that term to the Mahatmas, that
Yeah.
they are omniscient?
Yeah, okay, I'll answer. Auntie, is your question answered or you need more explanation?
Yes, I understood now.
Okay,
Thank you.
so Mahatma, Mahatma is not omniscient. Mahatma only knows his body, mind, and intellect. He does not know all bodies, minds, and intellect. But he knows I am consciousness. So as consciousness, I am omniscient.
Oh, okay.
Consciousness is omniscient. If he understands I am Atma, then I am omniscient, because the Atma knows all thoughts, all bodies, all minds, all thoughts. But if you say, does Mahatma know what the other person is thinking? No. Mahatma will not know what is, because as long as he is functioning through this body, mind, and intellect equipment, he will know his body, his mind, his intellect.
But they say that once you are connected to the totality, you can know.
Yes. Yeah, to a certain extent you can know. But it's not that they are constantly aware of everybody's thought, then they will get crazy. But yes, if you are that advanced, they can like they can tell what disease you have or what you are thinking. Yes, at a certain level, they get this, what do you call it, this intuition where they are able to tell. But it's not that they are constantly aware of everybody's thoughts. But they may have intuitions of what you are thinking, like what disease you are suffering. Sometimes they will tell you just by looking at you that you have this problem and so on. So yes.
So when we say omniscient, that's this awareness that is flowing through all of us and all of the creation is all-knowing. That's what you are referring to, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's not that they will know Russian or everything.
Yeah.
Not,
Yeah, not that they will know quantum physics or they will be able to talk Russian, but they know
Right.
I am that all-knowing consciousness. So he does not see any difference between himself and Brahman. I am Brahman. See, when he says I am Brahman, then I am omniscient.
that little I falls
Yeah,
away.
the little I falls away, as Neeru says. So,
Okay. Thank you.
yeah. So it's not that suddenly he will be able to fly a plane, you know. If you put him there, he won't. So in the world, they will have this limited ability. But inside, they know that I am all. And then they do develop an intuition where they are able to predict the future. Some Mahatmas can predict what's going to happen, or they know their past lives, you know. So they do have more abilities, intellectual, mental, spiritual, than you and me. You know, they can walk on water, for example, you know, things like that. But that's not the purpose of realization, to know past life, to know future life, to predict the future, to know. Those are useless siddhis, you know, for the realized master. He doesn't give any importance. The example they give about siddhis, I think in Bhagavad Gita, he says, like a trina, like if you're sitting and watching your child's soccer game or grandchild's soccer game, and you know there are these grass, you know, blades of grass lying on the ground. So you pluck one, and then you make a little ring out of. You're getting bored in the game, so you make a ring or you make a little square or triangle, and you are playing while you are watching the game. And then when you get up, do you take those with you? No, you just drop them and you dust your clothes, remove all the grass, including all that you have made. Why? Because it was just temporary. So same way for a Mahatma, all siddhis are like that. He may have them, but he gives no importance to the siddhis. Like a blade of grass, which if you have made, but you don't want to hold on to it, you just drop it. So similarly, he may have siddhis, like, you know, Jesus could raise the dead or feed the hungry, but that was not the main. And he always said, I did not do it. My Father in heaven has done it. See, people used to say, oh, you did it. He said, no, I'm not the doer. My Father in heaven is doing all that. So they don't take any credit for it. They give everything to God. Yeah. Anybody else? Moini, Carrie, yeah, go ahead.
Name the meaning of Aksharam again.
Akshara means imperishable. Kshara means perishable. Akshara means imperishable, indestructible, unchanging. Avyayam is all unchanging, but Aksharam and Avyayam is used together. Avyayam is non-changing. Aksharam is imperishable. Carrie, you have a question?
If the first word, the Vijnanat Ma Saha, so that's starting out, that's with reflection of consciousness,
Right.
with the knowing self. So it's that's like the third vibhakti.
No, Vijnanatma is the subject. Saha Devaischa Sarvaihi. That is the third vibhakti. Whenever you use Saha, Vijnanatma with the sense organs. So that's why there Devaischa Sarvaihi is third vibhakti
Oh,
Bahuvachan.
okay. I usually think of Saha being after the
No.
word that's in the third case.
No,
Okay.
Saha means is with, like aham mitrena saha pathshalam gacchami, means I go with my friend. So when
Okay.
you
So
use
Saha
saha,
can
you
be
always
used
use the
before or after then.
saha means along with. Yes.
So, and it can be used before or after.
Yeah, that doesn't matter. Yeah. The
Okay.
position,
Sure, can be
Thank you.
used
position doesn't matter in Sanskrit. You have to get the context.
the same
Okay.
and the.
Yeah, cha, saha, all of these. Actually, anything can be put in front or back, especially in the Bhagavad Gita. Sometimes Bhagwan will put the object and then in the instrument and then
Oh.
subject in the fourth line and then also
Right.
at the end. So
Yeah.
you have to
Verb
know the
also.
whole verb can be somewhere else, noun will be somewhere else. You have to figure it out. And that
Yeah.
so you have to know the third case of the first. The first case is the subject, the second case is the object, third is the instrument, then which is the verb, all that. So you have to know the 8 cases to figure out, and then you have to know the position and the context.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Last, Satish Bhai, anything you would like to add?
Well, I just want to say one thing about when we talk about Atman or Brahman, it's actually just for our human comprehension. We call it that, but it's beyond that.
Yes.
True.
Yeah, you cannot
It's
think
like
of it as-
it's like energy, right? It's energy which you can't see. We call it energy because we just have to comprehend it somehow.
Yes.
thinking the
Thank you.
subject, because of which I think.
Yeah, because of which I think, but it cannot be described. That's why only
Correct.
pointers are given. All these
Correct.
are pointers, they are not description of the self. Sharath, anything you would like to add? No? Okay, good. We'll end here, and then next week we'll start the 5th query, which talks about the Om Upasana, Ayuma, because he has talked about the 3 states, waking, dream, and deep sleep. So the next 5th query is about Om Upasana. And the 6th one, which will be after this, is about this Purusha, Shodasha Kala Purusha. This Purusha, this consciousness that has 16 kalas. So very, very nice description of that Purusha and how this 16 kalas came about. So we'll talk about that. But next few weeks, we'll talk about Om Upasana. And then the 6th query is about the 16 kalas of the Purusha, Shodasha Kala Purusha. So these are the 2 topics in this Upanishad, and after that we'll do Mukund Mala. That will take a few months, but
We have the books in the.
we have the books in the office, Mukund Mala, which is, I thought this is a heavy one, and Jayashri requested. So Mukund Mala will be a good one. It's
And a
light.
nice chanting.
It's light, is nice chanting, lot of bhakti. So because isme dimag thak jata hai, the mind gets tired thinking. So we need something light, but we have 2 more questions, queries.
Mukundmala is also another Upanishad.
No, it is a bhakti text written by a king, Kula Shekhara.
Okay.
Arwal.
In praise
He
of
was
the
a
Lord
king.
Krishna.
He was a bhakta of Lord Krishna. So in bhakti, he has talked about who Krishna is and what is my relationship and how I am, helpless, and Bhagwan is my sole support. Very, very beautiful text. And there is Vedanta also in it, but very subtly. He has given mostly bhakti, but at the same time put in a lot of knowledge. So Mukund Mala, but that won't be at least
Go
for
to that.
3-4 months at least. It will take us that much time to finish the next 2 questions, and then we'll start that. But I'm looking forward to that because it's very sweet bhakti of Bhagwan Sri Krishna is given in that. And the glory of that great king, even though he was a king, what a great bhakta he was. So that will be next. We'll cover that. We'll do the closing. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Hari Om. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate it.